Let's talk about easy ways to save money on your wedding. I'm Emily Bassett, your go-to certified meeting professional. Before deciding on a venue, I would recommend not deciding on a date for your wedding. If you do this, you will likely save some money. For instance, if you have a wedding on Saturday, that is prime wedding day. It is much more expensive than having your wedding on a Friday or a Sunday. Also, think about holidays. Holidays such as Labor Day that falls on a Monday. Everyone typically has Monday off, and you could potentially have your wedding on that Sunday and still receive a discount because your wedding isn't on Saturday, prime wedding day. Venues can be one of the most expensive things you spend your money on during your wedding. So you may want to brainstorm some other ideas if you're on a tight budget. For instance, city parks can be a beautiful spot for a wedding and are much cheaper than your standard wedding venue. Also think about a reception in a backyard. That may sound a little crazy, but one of the first weddings I worked was in a backyard and it was gorgeous, it was intimate. You can bring in tables and linens and floral and whatever you want, but you don't have that hefty bill of paying for a venue. Also, when thinking about your venue, if you're selecting a ceremony that is outside or if it's in a chapel with gorgeous windows that have a backdrop of scenery in the background, think about that being your decor because everyone's focus is going to be on the beauty of where you're at. You may not need to bring in as much floral or other things into the ceremony, and that alone will save you money as well. Now let's talk about floral. One of the most clever things that I think you can do with floral is if you're going to have live floral at your wedding, if your bridesmaids are going to be having bouquets, then why not reuse those bouquets for your reception? If you have tables that you want live floral on during your reception, all you have to do is have your bridesmaids, when they make their exit from the ceremony, walk straight into the reception, plop that floral down into a vase on those tables, and no one's going to know, and it's going to be beautiful, and you save so much money because you get to reutilize that floral. Another way to save money on floral is, of course, doing it yourself. And this is what we actually did for my wedding. I was very lucky that one of my bridesmaids is very talented with floral, and she guided us through how to make beautiful arrangements. She actually lives in Tulsa and has her own business now. So if you're looking for someone, Emily Sullivan, I'll link her below. She does an amazing job. And what we did is we ordered our floral from Sam's Club. You can also do this from Costco. It's a lot cheaper to order in bulk there, even cheaper than just going to the grocery store the night before to pick up floral. And we did hydrangeas, and we just put roses within the hydrangeas and wrapped them up, and it was gorgeous. We also did greenery across long tables and poked roses inside of those as well. And it turned out fabulous. Yes, it was some work beforehand, but it was also kind of a fun activity for those who like to be creative with their floral on their wedding day. Now, you don't have to use real live floral for everything. You don't have to use floral at all if you are on a tight budget, but something you really shouldn't use live floral on is if you're doing an arch in your ceremony or a cross backdrop. No one is gonna be within 3 feet of that display, and if you put fake floral on it, no one's gonna know. It'll be your secret and no one will ever find out, and they'll think it's gorgeous. So something else you may want to think about is reusing items from your ceremony for your reception. So we already talked about reusing bouquets for display in the reception. Another big item, if you are responsible for rentals for your wedding, such as chairs, I would recommend renting chairs for your ceremony and not your reception. And as long as you have enough people to help out or staff who are willing to move items over, what you'll do is you'll have your ceremony set up, everyone sits in chairs, and then you'll have a cocktail reception, and that can take place outside of the reception venue. And as people are mingling and having hors d'oeuvres and appetizers or whatnot, then you'll have staff or whoever helping move those chairs over to the reception, and then you won't have a double bill for renting chairs. You can also do this for other decor items you have in your ceremony. Now let's talk about food and beverage. Number one, plated meals are typically more expensive than a buffet because staff has to place each plate on each table in front of each guest, which requires a more expensive cost to staff those employees. Now, I would recommend going for a buffet if you're trying to save some money. You can have this be self-served, or you can have staff pre-portion the food items for each person, which I actually recommend because then it's easier to estimate how much food actually needs to be ordered. If people are self-serving, they may take more than they'll actually eat, and then you might run out of food. You may also want to think about ordering from a local restaurant because sometimes this tends to be less expensive. It's also okay to ask for discounts, but you don't want to offend them, so don't ask for anything above 20%. And 20% is kind of on the high end post-COVID now because food prices have increased. I would recommend asking for about a 10% discount. You may still get turned down, or you may agree upon a 5% discount, but anything here and there will help you save costs. And look at different types of meals. If you're going from Italian to Mexican, be open-minded to different options if you can, because then you can really compare the different prices of different selections. Now, let's talk about the cake. There's a few secrets on how to save money on your wedding cake. So a few options are having a smaller wedding cake on display that can be as gorgeous as you want it to be, but have sheet cakes in the back ready to be cut and served up. That way you have more than enough prepared for your attendees, and you still have a beautiful display in front of everyone that isn't a 5-tier cake that costs you thousands of dollars. Another way to save, if you do want that 5-tier cake, is you can actually order fake cakes. And it's basically a cake that is styrofoam and iced and looks beautiful, and no one knows that it is fake. And what you'll do during the wedding is when it's time to cut the cake, you'll have your event planner, whoever is in charge of taking the cake and cutting it. They'll actually move the cake to the back and have sheet cakes in the back of the room ready to be served up, and no one will ever know that it was a fake cake. But you will save a lot of bang for your buck by doing that. Another big ticket item that costs a lot on a wedding is photography. You do want to spend a good amount of your money on photography because that is the one thing that you're going to keep forever to look back on your wedding day. However, you don't have to go for the most expensive photographer you can find. You can also find newer companies, people who are starting their business up, who are extremely talented, but aren't going to make you pay thousands and thousands of dollars because they're just starting their business and trying to get their name out there. So if you can find someone like that, you're gonna save some money as well. There are a lot of tricks and different things you can do to save money on your wedding day. If you have any other suggestions or questions, please comment below and I'd love to reply to you directly. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I hope to see you at the next one.